So I have this laptop that I'm going to upgrade. It's a Dell Inspiron, and I will first start out by looking at system. If I type system in the search and go to system information, you can see that this is a Dell i5. It's an Inspiron 15 3511. It has 16 gigs of memory. Here somewhere. Yeah, excuse me, it has 8 gigs of memory. I'm going to upgrade it to 16 gigs of memory. And the available physical memory of the hard drive is less than that. So I'm also going to upgrade the hard drive in it as well. So I will be replacing with these components here. So if I now shut down, make sure it's shut down before I start working on it. I'm going to close the laptop. And I want to point out to folks, even people that's been using a computer for a while, they have a tendency to grab the edge and open and close it with the edge. That puts excess pressure on the hinges, and it can cause these hinges to break. I know that because I've done that myself. So you really need to open and close from the middle. So I will close it, and then I will turn it over. And with it turned over, there are 3 screws on the front and 3 screws on the back, as well as 2 screws, one on either side. So through the magic of video editing, I'm going to pause the video while I remove the screws. Okay, so I've removed the screws, and what I'm going to do is use a credit card or any kind of piece of plastic to kind of wedge in here and open this. So you don't want to force it too much, because this is just thin plastic. It will break if you put too much pressure on it. So I am now going to remove it and set it aside, and I'll point out a couple of things. Here's the 8 gigs of memory that I have. There's 2 slots here. This is the hard drive that I'll be replacing. It's a NVMe type hard drive. And the battery is here, and there's a couple of other components. This is the motherboard here in the back with USB ports on the side. It also has a SD, micro SD type card slot on the side over here as well. This, the fan, which is dirty, cleaned, but we won't go into that right now. What I am going to do, though, is replace the memory. There's 2 clips, one on either side here. You can see it here as well. And all I'm going to do is take my fingers and just kind of push that aside, and this will pop up out of the way. Now, when you replace memory, you want to make sure that it's the same memory type. So whatever memory's in there, you know, if it's just one and you want to upgrade it and put another, make sure you use the same memory type. And there's a label that will explain that on the front. So I'm going to just set this aside. And when you're handling these components like memory, you want to avoid touching these edges here along this side here. You don't want to handle that, especially if you have a house that has carpet in it. It's going to build up static electricity, and it's not going to bode well. In that case, I strongly suggest you use a wrist strap. So you'll notice that this has a slot in the middle. So if you tried to put this in backwards, it's not going to fit because the slot doesn't line up. So don't try to force anything if it doesn't fit. And it says DDR4 only. So that's a type of memory. So if you had the newer memory like DDR5, it would not work in this particular laptop. So I'm just going to lay this in here and make sure that it's seated and just push it down and let it snap in place. I'm going to do the same thing with this other piece of memory. And again, if I try to put that in wrong, it's not going to fit. So you have to make sure that it lines up and just push it in place. Now we've upgraded the memory from 8 gigs to 16 gigs. And the next thing I'm going to do is replace this hard drive. This is a smaller hard drive. It's an NVMe type hard drive. And there's just a little screw in here. And if I wanted to, I could put a terabyte of memory in here as well. But I'm just going to pull this out of the way. And there is the little hard drive. And so I'm going to take the other one, which is taped into place on here. So let me just pull that piece of tape off. And I'm going, same thing, you don't want to touch those edges, you know, kind of keep those. And you'll notice too, it also has a little slot. So you can't put it in backwards or upside down. It simply will not work. So I'm going to take this one out and take the new one. And if I look at the slot here, I can see that there's a slot right there. So if I try to put it in like that, you know, like this, it's not going to work because it will not line up. So I need to line it up with the slot. I simply push this into place. Now, I have had situations where I replaced the NVMe drive and it came up and said it couldn't find the hard drive. So if that happens, shut everything back down, open it back up, and just make sure that it's seated in there very well. So here I'm going to, again, take this, kind of push it down, line up these little clips with the brackets here. And once I put that in place, I'm going to make sure that it seats here well. And then I will take the little tiny screw that holds it in place. Okay. Now I have replaced the hard drive. It's that simple. And again, through the magic of video editing, I'm going to pause the video while I put the cover back on and boot this back up. So now that I've replaced the screws, I will flip this over. Again, I want to emphasize, don't open it from the corners. Open it from the middle. You know, otherwise you're going to break the hinges. So once I have it turned on, I'll power on, got a light there, and while that's happening, let me just put this away. So when you're booting up after you work on it inside, it's normal for it to take a little bit longer because the computer's trying to recognize. And it gave me an error message here saying the amount of system memory has changed. Yes, of course it did. We changed it from 8 gigs to 16 gigs. So all I'm going to do is hit OK, or continue rather. So it will accept the new memory when I do that. That's also at the place, if it didn't recognize the hard drive, it would give you an error message saying that it couldn't boot the computer. At that point, you would need to shut it down, remove the cover again, and then reseat that to make sure that NVE drive is properly seated in there. So just bear with me for a moment while this boots up, and I will show you that it now has the new drive. So just get connected here. Okay, so now that the computer is started, now that the computer has restarted, I'm going to type about here instead of system this time, and show you a different way to look at it. So it will come up to the system about, and you can see clearly now, instead of 8 gigs of installed RAM, random access memory, it now has 16 gigs. It also has the larger hard drive installed as well. So that's it. We've upgraded the computer. We doubled the amount of RAM, random access memory. Again, memory is different than hard drive space. People, newbies especially, get that confused. So that concludes the upgrade process here. We will have other videos later that do other things as well. Thank you for taking the time to watch the video.